Moving on, I'd like to welcome Philippe Redaelli of Kaiko. And he will, hi.
Hi, nice meeting you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. He will give a presentation on how data can help bootstrapping liquidity in tokenized security markets. Stage is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for still being there. The title of the presentation is about liquidity. In the talks before, the liquidity question has been mentioned several times. The reason why is that it's absolutely necessary to have infrastructures, to have security tokens in place. But then once you have it, who's going to trade on it? Who is going to decide to use that infrastructure that has been built and that is fit for purpose instead of the existing one or the competing one? And the answer to that is liquidity. So the question is, how do we create liquidity? And I'm going to be very direct with you today because I'm pitching as a data supplier that liquidity depends a lot on the data question, which I'm going to present to you now. Does it work? Yes. So who are we? Kaiko is currently a leading or the leading provider for crypto data. We are distributing to the market industrial grade and compliant market data on cryptocurrencies or crypto assets. And we have this real-time historical, and we are covering centralized exchanges and also decentralized protocols. So we fetch data both off-chain from exchanges and on-chain from protocols. Kaiko is covering almost all the existing exchanges where there's liquidity. We have more than 10 years history of data and obviously the greatest quality out in the market. This is why a number of clients are using our services. We got three categories of clients: financial institutions like funds, market makers, liquidity providers, etc. We've got terminals or data vendors. We are acting as a white label or as a supplier to other data supplier for cryptocurrencies, and that includes Deutsche Börse. Currently, crypto data from Deutsche Börse is Kaiko data behind. And the rest of our customers, they span from the MIT, the OECD, and other institutions which we cannot name, and the DeFi protocols themselves. So this is who we are, because probably, I don't know how many of you knew Kaiko before, sort of raise hand, except for, yes, 1, 2, excellent, 3. So it means that I got a good reason to be there. The pitch and the proposal I have for you today, and we'll be very happy to continue the discussion after the talk, is that liquidity is created by data. Financial market infrastructures are like a body. You need a number of elements, but then when it's up and running, you need the blood to flow and other fluids. So what is common to every single actor in the financial markets is data. Everywhere along the cycle. You are a trader, you need to backtest your strategy before you're going to trade, and that's data. You want to do research and analysis. If you're a custodian or if you are a valuation firm, you need good data. You need charts and analytics, indexes, and so on and so forth. So data, market data, is necessary, is absolutely necessary all along the life cycle in financial markets. And I'm not talking about cryptos. I'm shifting now to our traditional financial instruments markets. Stocks, bonds, derivatives, structured products, whether it's spot, derivative, data, market data is needed everywhere, from issuance of the title, from creation of the contract when it's a future, all along the life cycle down to regulatory reporting, we talk about data. So how is data creating liquidity? I'm dividing the world into two categories, market participants and platform providers or market infrastructure. So let's talk about market participants. Well, if you got a good coverage, you want to trade stocks, you want to trade bonds, the first step is to acquire information on the markets you're addressing, acquire precise information to beat the competitor. And that's about coverage. If you have a provider that's only providing you for German stocks, you will only be able to trade German stocks, which is already fine if your focus is on German stocks. But if you want to go and trade EU stocks or English or etc., you need providers, and coverage is data sourcing. Revenue depends on data quality. If you got a poor data quality set, how can you elaborate a nice strategy? How can you enforce your strategy? If you don't have the right data set, it's not possible to generate revenues, and you increase the risks of losing money, actually. Connectivity is another example of value creation. Today, it's an ultra-technological world, and it's only the beginning, so connecting to the right data set is not enough. You need to connect in the right way. So the way to connect, the ability to use your existing channels, it's a matter of data. Data infrastructure, we'll say. For market infrastructures, so MTFs under DLT pilot regime, exchanges in the crypto world, but not only DeFi protocols. Tomorrow maybe we got a Uniswap for stocks, and there's probably a nice use case there. Let's not elaborating on that. Custody infrastructures, settlement, DLTs, everybody around building infrastructure depends on data. So what is the value? How can we characterize the value of market data for financial markets infrastructures? I use 3 words. The first is focus. Focus because we all, and Kaiko is the same, we all live in a constrained world with, okay, there's a lot of money around, but there is less talents than we would like. We've got limited bandwidth, etc. We need to focus on our core business. So addressing the data issue is a business in itself. The question is, if I build a platform, will I also address the data market infrastructure, the market data infrastructure that is needed? My experience is that when platform providers start their work, they do it by themselves because they got one category of instruments or one use case, and it's easy. The difficulty is that we are not yet at the stage where people start thinking about the actual liquidity and who's going to do actual business. Therefore, they do not, or the market is not projecting itself in a world where it's going to be of utmost importance to be able to scale up very fast. And scaling up very fast also, I'm not saying only, but I'm saying also depends on accessing the right data set in the right way, and this is a business. I'm going to show you a bit later how deep the business is. Value proposition, why? Because the functionalities of a platform do depend on the algorithm of that platform and the softwares, but not only. They are also dependent on the availability of some products. If you are in quant finance, for instance, you need fast real-time data down to the millisecond. So it's not only the algorithm, you need the data. If you train algorithm to trade, you need historical data set, etc., etc. So when you build a platform, the same way, the ability to enhance, to increase the value proposition is not only, but also depending on the availability of certain data. I'm just taking an example. If you want to do swaps, you need rates. If you want to do structured products, you need rates or indexes, etc. And the network effect is probably the most important topic, and I'm glad the prior speaker talked about it. Because once we all have built the infrastructures, and I say we because we feel we are part of a number of institutions who are just there to build something. And the pilot regime is not going to be the target regime. It's too low a ceiling. We all know we are preparing an infrastructure to come back to the commission and say, look, it works, so now unlock it and enable. So some are addressing wallets, some are addressing a number of KYC and other things. We are addressing market data. And we say, it is not enough to have the restaurant. You need to have the people who want to eat in your restaurant. And how can you get people eating in restaurant if you don't make it known that you got the best chef, that you got great food, etc., and that whomever you name a German VIP came with his wife or partner. So data distribution is of key importance for platforms, and that's the way you solve the network effect dilemma. I don't have the buyers if I don't have the sellers. So how do you solve it? You usually contract with a number of institutions in one side of the platform. So they start bringing liquidity, but you make the world known. Imagine Xetra owner, I'm sorry, my German, without data distribution, it wouldn't work. The LSE acquired Refinitiv. The reason why is that letting the financial world know what's happening on the platform means attracting traders on that platforms, attracting a number of other interested parties like, I don't know, even compliance has to know what's happening on the platform. So a network effect comes with data distribution. And that's a business. So, but, that's in the pitch, you always have, okay, you know, then you got on the white shirt, the big stain, and then I'm coming with the washing powder. So that's the stain. The problem is availability and quality. Yeah, maybe a silence is more efficient than an explanation. How do you get the data? Where from? With what systems? With what investments you make? Do you know about how to get data and making sure that you're not hacked through the data entrance? Okay. On the right, quality. How do you make sure you got quality data? I mean, you go to the shop, but what do you find in the shop? And it's even more challenging that with shifting era, we're all here to build what's on the right. And on our side, from the data point of view, we're entering a new era where the data goes to the user. The data is going to be fetched outside of the chain and put in the smart contract, in the block, somewhere or somewhere else, but in the chain. So we shift from the traditional Walmart model to the drone model, where data is delivered to the user. So we got the classical availability and quality data questions, market data. I'm talking about market data and not personal data. Forget that, it's not my topic. Market data. But in addition to that, we have to build the infrastructure, like everybody here, to be able to bring data on chain in an efficient way. So how do we do it? First, who's doing that? This slide is there to say that, and to claim that if you look in the financial markets history, ever since the digitalization, even before in other formats, data providers are part of the game. And they serve everybody. So I need to go fast. My colleague Tom will tell you about how much do I have left? 5 minutes, perfect. So I'm fast. There's a lot of things you can do with data. I'm very fast. These two slides are not for you to look at. I've got two slides, one on infrastructure and one on data set, to show you the magnitude of the data business that needs to be addressed if you really want to address the data. You need to fetch data off-chain and on-chain. You need to fabric data products, and you need to distribute, and I'm happy to distribute the slide to anyone. And the data products catalog is a huge one as well. So how do we make that? First, you need a robust service provider. Kaiko has raised 50 million Series B. We are SOC 2 compliant in a few days. We're SOC 1. And we have leading financial firms as partner like Deutsche Börse or ANDA, just to name German firms. So the data needs to be addressed by specialists that are businesses in which there are the right investments, because providing to the market data is a business. Second, we are self-regulated to the extent regulation is possible. Obviously, we are not a regulated entity, but when it comes, for instance, to provide index for banks to use it as a reference price, then we are regulated under BMR regulation with the French BaFin, AMF, and ESMA. And we are also working on regulated data. I'm at the moment working with the professional associations on ESMA RTS reporting. And then I said, it's not enough. The best practices must also be imported in the digital world. When I'm talking about best practices, we talked about sourcing, off-chain and off-chain, but also the cleaning of the data, the normalization, the standardization, and the coverage. Distribution, we talked about it. How do we create the network effect? We create the network effect by enabling the platforms to go to any bank in the world and say, look, tell me on which channel you are. Chances are I'm already on it. So on the upper side, here on the right, the example of Kaiko, you can get the data from the internet, through REST, APIs, CSV, Stream. You can get it from the backbones in the financial markets, like the ICE network or the Bloomberg pipe. And if you are on the backbones, you cover 90% of the banks around the world. And you can get it from other terminals and also on-chain. And I finish by saying that, okay, there's no market yet. We're already building the way we are addressing the thing, besides adapting our infrastructures to security tokens, is to engage in experiments. And I don't want to expand, but French society, I would have loved to do it with a German bank, but it was a French, I'm sorry, Entschuldigung. Aber es war sehr gut. We have actually won a little challenge by Société Générale to bring Euribor rates in their notes directly on chain. It's just an example to illustrate that everything I've said before, like everybody else, we're starting to do it for real. Thank you for your attention. Have I finished in time? Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Philippe.
And obviously, we have a booth just after that. My colleague Tom and myself are there. Can I finish with one last thing?
Sure.
Not that I'm inspired, but do we learn by looking at someone who does the thing? Or do we learn by making? So we also have a naughty pitch, which is if you want to be, as a bank, in the digital securities, are you going to stay and look, or are you going to try and play with crypto data, even if you don't consider it as an asset? We obviously say you should play with it, because then you learn.
Wise last words. I'd say thank you again, Philippe.